Hello, my name is Monica Natoli. I am the PLC coordinator at the Child Care Resource and Referral of Southeast Georgia. And I'm very glad that you've decided to take this TFT on the webinar, The 3 Ps of Professionalism. If you look at the PowerPoint from this view, you'll see that I have quite a few notes at the bottom, so that's going to help you to know what kinds of things to say to your participants. What I'll do now is just sort of start it from the beginning. So you will see how the PowerPoint will be shown when you're with your participants. For those of you that are new to teaching virtually, I'll take a quick moment to explain how I usually begin my trainings. I typically introduce myself and take a moment to have each participant introduce themselves by stating their name, program, and title, or even the age of the children that they care for. Then I go over the features of the Zoom platform. A lot of them might be on their very first virtual training, so I like to make sure they know how to mute and unmute themselves, to turn on their videos, and I require that they keep their video on so that I can make sure that people aren't leaving halfway through the training and that they're interactive. I also show them up at the top of their screen where they can choose the viewing of the screen, whether it's full view or thumbnail, etc. I show them the chat box at the bottom of their screen so that they can write their notes in there. There's also the raise hand particular area where they can click that on and off. And I explain how the breakout rooms work. I make sure that I tell the participants to stay muted unless they want to talk. This kind of keeps that background noise from interfering with the participants and with you. I also remind them that with their videos on, not only can we see them, but also people that are behind them or walk into the room. So just want to make sure that they are being appropriate. I ask them to please have a piece of paper and writing utensil ready so that they can write notes. And then we're ready to go over the objectives. We're going to list what those 3 Ps of professionalism stand for, discuss aspects of professionalism, define the word passion, list 5 ways to recharge your passion, and explain 3 ways that we can educate parents. At this point, I say, we know that we are childcare professionals, but does the general public know that? In a moment, we're going to discuss the question posed on this next slide. Then I explain to the participants that I will be breaking them into virtual breakout rooms. Each of them will be assigned a room number that they should remember throughout the course. And I tell them once they get in their breakout room to choose one person to be the note taker that will then report back what the discussion was about when we get together as a large group. So I tell them too that when they go into the breakout room, it might take a moment for them to get settled. There will be a notice that tells them to click as soon as they are ready to go into the breakout room. And then when the time is up, a notice will come to them and they'll have 1 more minute to talk, and then they should click that they want to return to the large room again. So before breaking them out, I tell them what they're going to talk about in their breakout session are these 3 items. Ask them to discuss whether or not they feel that society values childcare providers as professionals, give their reasons why they feel that or why they don't feel that way, and what would it take for society to change their view if need be. So once they're clear on what they're supposed to discuss, I tell them that they will be put in their breakout room, discuss these thoughts for 5 minutes, And then I will call them back so we can discuss it as a large group. When the group comes back together, then the reporters will answer out in the order of their room numbers so that we can hear what their discussions were about and we can have a large group chat about it. Then we say, society appears to have a low appreciation and understanding of the value of ECE. Do parents really understand why we let kids play all day? Do they feel that the children aren't learning new things? Do they see us more like babysitters than professionals? And that probably will sum up what they did talk about in their large group sharing time. We need to hold ourselves to the highest of standards. The next thing is a video, and what I ask them to do is have their paper handy so that they can write down words or phrases that speak to them as they view the video. Once the video is ended, participants will take turns sharing one of their words or phrases. And here you can click to begin the video. It only lasts 3 minutes basically, and it has people that discuss what they think professionalism means to them. So they can be jotting down all of those ideas. When they come back as a group, we will have shared our words or phrases that were important, and then you're ready to move on to talking about the first P of professionalism, which is passion. And then I ask, how do you define this word in relation to your role in an early childhood program? So I have them to go to that chat box feature, and I ask them if they will write down what they feel their definition of passion is. If you feel like that might take too much time and you maybe just have a small group, you can also just have them call out what their definitions of passion for ECE is. Then I take about 5 minutes to discuss some experts' definitions of the word passion. It's a desire to effect change, an energy or life force that motivates ideas and beliefs. It provides the best each and every day for each person in the classroom. There is no cutting corners, so you're not trying to quickly read through a book. You're not trying to cut their time in the learning center short just because that might suit you. But if you have a true passion for the children, you will give them the very best and not try to cut corners. Commitment to helping children discover the joy of learning. Your attitude counts, and children can sense your moods. Create uplifting, positive attitudes every day for the children. And passion is a desire to help each child reach his or her potential. You build a child's self-esteem by challenging him or her with slightly more difficult tasks. It's no sense giving them the same puzzles day after day that they've already mastered. Try to give them something a little bit more challenging, but not challenging them so much that they get frustrated. And always praise good effort and positive results. If you can't wholeheartedly say that you're currently doing all of these things, then you're doing a disservice to the children and families you're working with, and you're not living up to the standards of being an ECE professional. Here's some more definitions of passion. Being open to learning new ways of teaching and engaging children. A sense of living your work, being a role model for the children, making a difference for the children and their families, having a deep commitment to your job and advocating for the children, having positive energy and optimism while caring for the most precious treasures of our society. And I talk a little bit about how important these early years are for children, because these are the years that they'll learn the most than they will in the rest of their life. And these are precious, precious treasures to the parents of the children. So we really need to make sure that we are being the best that we can be for them. And it's also considered an endless and total devotion to the children and their development. Now we're going to do an activity called Passion Rechargers. And so we talk a little bit about how difficult the job of being a child care provider is. We're changing diapers, we're having the children to wash their hands so many times during the day, we're looking after possibly 22-year-olds in the same class, and it's tiring, and after a while, we do start to lose energy and our motivation to keep coming up with new ideas and making our lesson plans very exciting and doing new things with the children kind of wears us out. So in order to recharge our energy, we try to brainstorm some ideas. So I've numbered these different topics 1 through 5. If you happen to have a large group of people and you need 6 or 7 groups, then you can just double up on the numbers. They could share those different topics. But I basically tell them I'm going to break them into those same smaller groups that we used before. Each group will be assigned one of the numbers that corresponds with the numbers on this screen. When they get to the breakout room, they need to again assign a note taker and reporter. And the group is going to list things that can be done to recharge their passion. So what can you do to squash some of the gossip, the resistance to change, some of those difficult attitudes that coworkers have? What does quality sleep entail? How can you get yourself quieted down so that you really do get as close to 8 hours of sleep as possible? What kinds of exercise can you do? Can you motivate others to do exercise? Maybe on lunch breaks, maybe getting a group together after your day ends, etc. How important nutrition is. We tend to keep grabbing food on the run. Those that have just a quick lunch break are probably just running out and doing fast food, and that's not good for you. So talking about how we can find tricks to eat healthier, talk about relaxation techniques, and then any other activities that we can think of to re-energize us. So they go off into their groups, and when you call them back, you can go ahead and have the reporters share their discussions that they had, and they refresh people's memory of what number that they had, and make sure that that everybody's still taking notes, because they might get some really good ideas from this exercise, and it's something that they want to go back to and remember. Now we talk about the second P, which is preparation. And I asked them this, this little question. It's a little bit of a poll, but in New Zealand, because the government changed some of their policies, they reduced the expectation for excellence. So it had been that they required 100% of all of their teachers to have some kind of a certification by 2012. And we know right from the start did something very similar with us by saying lead teachers have to have a CDA credential by 2013. But as reality has shown, not all teachers were able to go out and get those credentials by the deadline. And now it's actually getting hard to find lead teachers that have credentials. So New Zealand must have come into the same problem. So they had to make some kind of a change there, and they decided instead of asking for 100% of them to be qualified, we'll let 80% have that qualification. So I ask the participants what they think might have happened in New Zealand, and they can choose either A or B. Do they think that the qualified teachers raised the standards in their programs because they shared and role modeled their expertise? So because some had the credentials and the education, they were able to motivate the others, and therefore the staff improved. Or do they think B happened, where they reduced their standards to work on the level of the unqualified staff? So in other words, because some staff had a credential but others didn't, did they kind of start falling down on the job because they felt, well, if the unqualified staff is able to slack off and not do such wonderful lesson plans, then why am I working so hard? And do they think that what happened is that standards started to go downhill? So I go review it again, and then I have the participants to use the raise hand tool, or you can just have them raise their own hands so that you can see them in their little windows in your view. And you can kind of tally up how many people chose A and how many chose B. And once they've chosen their choice, you can tell them that the correct answer is B. And the fact was, unfortunately, the qualified teachers started to do less so that they could be more on an even keel with the unqualified staff. So in talking about preparation, we're going to talk about education, that it's a good idea for them to always work on taking their trainings, but going back to school and getting, whether it's a CDA, a TCC, a diploma, or an associate's degree. True professionals want to be equipped with the knowledge they need to offer the best education for their children. So training hours are extremely important. Professionals continue past the minimum or required, basing their participation on the desire to have the knowledge and to improve. And then we talk about the fact that licensing only requires 10 hours of training each year, but we want to go above the 10 hours, which is minimum, and go to 14, 16, or 18 hours per year, reminding them that whenever they go through quality rated, you are given more points for the more training hours you have. We also talk about the trainings that are offered online, like Read Right from the Start from the Cox campus. The CCR&R classes are free to participants in the quality rated program. And make sure that they know that they're gaining knowledge that they can pass on to parents, to coworkers, so that they look more professional instead of just being a babysitter. We actually know about child development and what we're doing with your children. Training participation is very important. So it's not good enough to just sort of come to a training and fall asleep. We know that your boss may have told you you have to go to your trainings, but we should see them actively participating in the training so that they get something out of it. Professionals should behave professionally in the training sessions. So arrive on time, don't leave early, keep your cell phones on silent and out of reach, dress appropriately, ask questions and share experiences, stay focused, don't engage in side conversations while the facilitator or others are speaking. Do not be judgmental when others are voicing their opinions, and take turns speaking and be respectful of others. Professionals realize they're representing a business at trainings. If you're looking bad, you're also making your whole program look bad. Talking about education, we say that self-education regarding current rules, regulations, trends, and best practices is extremely important, and things do change, so we have to keep abreast of the newest changes. Participation in QR or any quality improvement process is available, and you should be happy to go through those programs and practice your standards every day. Implementation of new best practices simply because it's the right thing to do, not just because you want to do well for the assessors when they come, but that it's something you're really going to practice each and every day because quality is important. Competence is extremely important, exhibiting a professional image. Parents want to know that teachers are capable and competent. So when a parent asks a question, try to give them resources or give them the information they need verbally. But if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know the answer, but I will find out. And get back to that parent after talking to the director or looking up an article to give to them or finding a resource where they can reach out and get some help. Be well prepared. Plan, reflect, and think things through. Make sure your lesson plans are not just the same old thing day after day. Make sure you're adding inviting and interesting activities to the classroom. Are you challenging the children enough, or are you making things too challenging that are not age appropriate and making the children stressed? Communicate well with the parents and directors and keep them informed. Professionals realize the importance of what they do, and they act accept the responsibility for it. And then they can fully prepare for living up to the responsibility. So preparation is extremely important, as well as your passion that you have for your children. The next and last P of professionalism is the P for presentation. This means how you present yourself to others in the fields, and that's going to include your supervisors. Are you listening to your supervisors? Are you copying an attitude towards them? Are you acting professional in that you need to follow their rules and what they need from you? Are you presenting yourself in a professional way to the parents and the families? To the other employees? Are you getting along with your coworkers? Are you listening to them and trying to understand what they're saying to you? Or are you blowing past them and causing issues? And other ECE professionals, again, when you meet with other people in the field, are you putting forward a professional look and attitude? How you present yourself to others in the field. And that has to do with how you're behaving both on and off of the job. So what we need to do is think about how we are presenting ourselves in public, presenting ourselves on social media. It is not a good idea to even friend the families of the children in your class. But even if you don't have them as a friend, the parents can be stalking the teachers in the sense of looking at your Facebook page, looking at what you put out there in social media. And how you represent yourself in social media will say an awful lot to the parents. And directors also can get their hands on any kind of social media that's out there. So you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a professional manner, watching the way you're dressing and behaving. Using language, what we're talking about there is, are you speaking respectfully to people? When you talk to parents, don't give them a rundown of everything negative that a child has done during the day. Also, complaining and being negative is unprofessional. So it's not a good idea to be telling parents what's wrong with what the director is doing, bad mouthing a coworker, etc. So watch what you say, and when you're speaking, make sure you're trying to speak very clearly with the proper English. And respect confidentiality. Do not go on Facebook and start blabbing about things that went on in the program. You certainly want to stay confidential when it comes to the children in your class that you're taking care of and for the families of the children that you take care of. We cannot get any of that out into the real world, so to speak, because your world of the center is very special and you can't break that confidentiality. How you present yourself with your work ethic. Are you coming to work every single day, or are you taking advantage and just because you wake up and you're exhausted, you call in because you don't feel like it? Attendance is so important because our children are hoping to see you each and every day. They have that relationship with their teacher, and it really throws them off when their teacher isn't there consistently. Punctuality is extremely important in the child care program. Your children are expecting you to be there, to see your smiling face. That gives them consistency and self-esteem. They feel better about themselves. But also, your director expects teachers to be there on time to cover the ratios in the rooms. Your coworkers are waiting for you to come back from lunch at the right time so they can go for their lunch break. Relationship boundaries with parents. And I asked them, what do they think I mean by that? And some of that has to do with, you might be buddy-buddy with parents, you might be going out and doing things with your children's sports. Maybe the children are at the same school, they are in the same clubs or on the same sport team, so you really have a personal relationship with a parent, but you have to have boundaries, because when it comes to professionalism, when you need to tell a parent about what's going on in the classroom with their child, you need to be able to make that line and don't just treat their child differently, and don't sort of favor one over the other just because of that friendship you have with the parent. Then talking about handling co-teacher communication, you need to support one another instead of knocking each other down. Also, present yourself and participate in training opportunities. Support the bond between child and family and respect their culture. You might have your own biases when a child comes in and they don't have enough diapers and you've been bugging the parents and the child comes in with diaper rash. Well, are you just looking down on that parent and thinking that they're terrible parents? Or are you trying to ask some questions and find ways that maybe you can help that parent and find out what's going on that is keeping them from remembering to bring in the proper things for their children? They could be going through a very difficult time, having some financial issues, and it could be that you can give them some resources, places to reach out and get that help. How do they feel if a child has two mothers? If you have a bias towards those that are lesbian or gay, then you should not be showing that bias. You need to respect the family unit and hide your feelings because you're trying to be professional. And we need to educate families as well as children, especially a lot of these teachers that are young. We need to teach them because maybe they just don't have that experience as parents and they need our help and expertise. Don't answer parents by saying, well, that's what I was told to do. No, that's not professional. You say, we are doing this in the classroom because it's best practices. It's the best for the children because research has said this is the best, not just because it's what your director told you you had to do. Help articulate what we're doing with the children and explain why. When parents think that you're just playing all day, you need to say why. That researchers have shown at this age, children's work is to play and that they learn through play. Help them to see why we are the children's second most important teacher. And then ask your participants, so who are the first teachers for their child? And they should say that's the parent. And we have to always keep that in mind, that the parent knows their child better than anyone, and we have to respect that. Now we're going to do a scenario activity, and what we're going to do is to go back into our breakout rooms and discuss or role play a situation. So you can decide how many you want to be in a group. If it's a small group of participants, maybe just 2 of them need to be in a group, otherwise it could be more. And you're going to refer to this next slide as the scenario topics. So when they get into their breakout rooms, what you're going to want is group number 1 to come up with their own scenario about a parent concern. So for an example, parents concerned my child doesn't have homework and they're 3 years old. So then in your group, you would discuss how you would reply to that parent. And you could either talk it through, and when you do the share back, just explain what you discussed, or you could actually role play. So for example, when you come back to the large group, one person could act as the parent and give the parent concern, and the other person could be the teacher, and the 2 of them could have a conversation that you would follow that gets that scenario across. And in the one scenario, you want to act unprofessional. What would you say if you were very unprofessional to a parent's concern? And then do the opposite and act like a professional in addressing that parent's concern. Number 2, you'll be talking about the parent relationship boundaries. And again, first time, tell us what it would be like to be unprofessional and then to be professional. Coworker situations, like there's a problem with gossip or not sharing responsibilities. She never does what she's supposed to do. I have to do all the cleaning of the bathroom. Or if there's an issue of disrespect, whatever they choose, they will show what's unprofessional and then handle the situation professionally. And the last one, training participation, we talked a lot about that earlier. So again, how you would handle something in a training unprofessionally and then how you would be doing it professionally. So they have about 20 minutes to work on this exercise and to share back to the large group. And now we're coming towards the end. The rocking chair self-assessment and action plan is an activity that would take quite a bit of time if you did it and let them just fill it out while you were on the webinar. So I use it as a transfer of learning instead. And that's one of the attachments. Basically, it's a self-evaluation where they think about their future. The assignment is to imagine that you are in your final years of life, you're sitting on a rocking chair. Reflect on the life you've lived and contemplate the answers to the given questions. So what they're going to want to know is, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Where do you put yourself at 10 years? What are your goals? So it really gives them a time to think about their professional life and what they are hoping to accomplish. It has the possibility of helping participants to take more control of their lives right now and to be on the right course for the future. So you explain that you're not going to collect that, they don't have to send it to you, but it's really for their own good, and that you strongly suggest that they upload it from the handout that you had sent to them in an email prior to the webinar, that they read through that and they continue to go back to that resource. There's also another resource that talks about self-care for teachers. And again, recommend that they download that from your email and they follow some of those steps and suggestions of how they can take care of themselves, their health, their mental stability, and that they always have to keep trying to rejuvenate themselves, because this is a difficult job and they will burn out if they don't really do some of those pointers that are on that sheet. You can then talk about the fact that you'd added a course evaluation that they should fill out and return to you. And then we're ready for a review. And this is fun because it's playing Family Feud. So let me share what this is. This is a PowerPoint. Oh, sorry, just want to make sure that you can see this. This is a PowerPoint that showing it from this current slide. When you move on, you can hit this button that says show the question, and it says what is included in the commitment to passion in our field. So there are 5 answers that go back to what we talked about in this class. And if you click the button for hide question, then they can choose what answer they come up with to answer the question. And if they reveal the correct one, it will pop up. So if somebody says you always have to provide the best for the children, you would have had, there's a guide that tells you what the answers are, and then you'll therefore know what number it was under, and you'll be able to turn that one over. So for another example, if somebody says, what's included in commitment, it's a desire to affect change, and that happens to be the number 1 question. Another thing you can do is when you turn over an answer and it's correct, you can cheer. And then if you choose to, and you just want to have fun with them, if they give the wrong answer and nothing is up on the board, you could kind of have the boo sound. And if they get all of them, then you could do the win. And when you're ready to silence it, because that music goes on for a bit, go ahead and click the silence button. So it's kind of a fun way to review some of the things that we did. If you look through it, you'll notice that some questions might be easier. Some questions are a little bit easier than others, perhaps. So you maybe just pick and choose which slides you want to use. And the other thing is that this game takes about 25 minutes. And depending on how you paced the class, you might not even get a chance to do it. It's really kind of optional if you get to do the Family Feud game. And again, if you only have a few minutes, maybe pick just some of the easier questions and just give them a chance to do that. Okay, let me, while I'm at it, just show you also, this was the rocking chair assessment. So again, here are some of the questions. Did you choose a career you enjoy? What accomplishments have you had? 5 self-reflection questions for you as you keep moving towards your future. So that was that one. And then, sorry, it does take a minute to figure out the Zoom. And then I believe that we had, okay. I thought I might have had that other example, but I don't, of the resource, but that's okay because you'll see it in the handouts. So if you had a chance, go ahead, have fun with your Family Feud. And then after that, we will review the objectives and just make sure that you did discuss the 3 Ps and that they are familiar with them, that they know the aspects of professionalism, that they've defined the word passion, that we've listed 5 ways to recharge their passion, and explained 3 ways that we can educate parents. And then it's thank you for attending and have a relaxing evening. We usually do our 2-hour classes in an evening from 6 to 8 or 6:30 to 8:30. And we've gotten really good feedback about it. So I hope that you will get the same and that you will enjoy teaching these and that your participants will find it's a nice change from having to get up and drive somewhere on a Saturday or to go after work in an evening and sit through a 2-hour class. This way they can be at home. They don't have to get a babysitter, but they can benefit from talking with an instructor and the other participants that are on the webinar. You get to meet people from all around your region, from different programs, and they have a lot to contribute, and a lot of advice and help is given during these webinars because a lot of people have been in the same boat and dealt with the same challenges. So it's a nice way to problem solve. And you will have a copy of this PowerPoint. There is a list of questions for you just so that I will be able to give you the secondary approval. The questions just show me that you did indeed take this class, that you did go through the whole PowerPoint, you were listening, you went through and were able to answer those specific questions. And then once you send those to me, I will set you up as a secondary trainer for this class. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Monica Natoli, and my email is mnatoli, N-A-T-O-L-I, at Savannah Tech, all one word, .edu. mnatoli at savannatech.edu. I thank you for your time, and I apologize for some little hiccups or pauses. It's just me talking into a machine. It's a little bit uncomfortable. So it's hard to keep the talking going and not kind of feeling silly. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and good luck with your trainings. Bye-bye.